So let's dig into the history of MCP. And it's not a very long history. I think it was created a few months back, right? So version 1 did not have a lot of work on the authentication authorization side, right? So you can just open up the MCP server. It works. It's great, but it was designed to run locally, right? And by locally, you run it on your laptop, right? You basically have a client that execute commands, and then the commands would go into that MCP server. So authentication authorization soon became an issue once we started to put MCP server on the network side. So now we're using it as a network protocol. Version 2 of the MCP addressed many of these issues. So let me quickly point out what are the issues. There are two separate authentication authorization issues within MCP. One, the user needs to be able to authenticate to the MCP server itself. And then two, the MCP server needs to be able to authenticate to whatever services on the back end. So if you take the example we have given before, your Google Calendar, you need to authenticate to the MCP server. Then the MCP server needs to have some sort of a token that gives it access to your Google account. If you're using this in a personal capacity, it's not a big deal, right? You can get away with the way things are right now, which is there is no authentication between you, the user, and the MCP server, and there is one maybe single token that allows the MCP server to go to your Google Calendar.
Just deal with the tools.
Yeah. As long as you are one user, then there is no issue. Well, kind of, to some extent, right? But if you want to have that as an enterprise solution where multiple users are going to use this, you will need to worry about the first part, authenticating to the MCP server. And then also the MCP server needs to authenticate to multiple Google accounts. And they need to make sure that one user cannot access someone else's calendar. So how do you create that access control? As of now, version 2 is addressing some of the authentication authorization aspects. So it's a protocol issue, but it's quickly being fixed. So version 2.1 has support for OIDC and has support for OAuth. What that allows you to do is that, hey, you can connect an MCP server with some sort of an OAuth server and OIDC servers, which basically between the two of them will take care of authentication and authorization as well. So that part
for the protocol,
for the
MCP.
Yeah, for the MCP server. So that part is being solved. There are still few issues as well, right? The other part where you need to control access has to be, it's not a protocol issue, it's more your application issue, because you have to write code that makes sure that you access it the right way. The easiest way to do that is to take the user's token and then pass it to the tool, right? And go to like Google, for example. That's not a great way to do it from a security perspective, because that means that your token, the user token, is going to leave your system. And as soon as you travel, you make that travel, then that becomes a potential issue.
It's all vulnerabilities, yeah.
So the MCP protocol itself is not perfect at this moment, but everyone is aware of these issues and they're actively working on enhancing it. And if you go to their documentation, you will clearly see, like there are three different versions, 1, 2, and 2.1, and you will see the differences, and you will see that security and authentication authorization is at the forefront of what they are updating right now. So it will need a little bit of time.
For Rabea Innovations.